Welcome to the deep dive. We've got the Manual of Patent Examined Procedure, the MPPP, right here, and we're breaking it down section by section so you know what's really going on inside.
That's right. Today we're in Chapter 1400, Correction of Patents.
And drilling down even further into MPP Section 1450, this one's called Restriction and Election of Species Made in Reissue Application. Sounds specific.
It is. It's all about what happens when you're trying to fix an error in your patent. That's a reissue application. But you also try to add new claims that are, well, pretty different from what you originally patented.
Okay, so our goal today is to map out those procedural landmines. You want to fix a mistake? Fine. But what if you also try to expand the invention while you're at it? How does the patent office handle that? Specifically, how do they use restriction when things get too different?
Yeah, and it's crucial to grasp why the rules feel stricter here. A reissue is fundamentally for correction, you see, not for kicking off a whole new examination from scratch. That core idea shapes everything in this section.
Before we get deep into it, we should give a quick shout out to Mike Shepard, the creative director behind this whole audio series.
Absolutely. And the standard necessary disclaimer. This summary was put together with some help from AI tools like ChatGPT and NotebookLM. It's for educational info only, okay? Not legal advice.
Definitely not legal advice. Right, let's tackle the first big rule. What's the deal with the original claims in a reissue?
Okay, Rule 1 is really clear. You absolutely cannot impose restriction between the original patent claims themselves.
Wait, even if looking back, maybe they should have been restricted. Like if Claim 1 was a device and Claim 5 was a totally separate method?
Exactly. Even then, if an examiner in the reissue tries to restrict those original claims, they have to withdraw it. It's just not allowed at this stage.
Huh. Why so protective?
Yeah.
Seems a bit unusual compared to a normal application.
Well, you could see it as a bit of procedural fairness, maybe. The applicant already got those claims allowed once. The point of reissue is fixing errors, right? Not going back to relitigate a restriction decision that maybe should have happened years ago.
Got it. So the claims that were already granted are kind of grandfathered in, see, from being split apart now.
Yeah.
But that changes completely if the applicant adds new claims, doesn't it?
Totally changes. That's Rule 2. Restriction can be required between the original claims and any newly added claims. But, and this is key, only if those new claims really cover a separate and distinct invention compared to what was originally patented.
So the PTO is basically saying, okay, fix your error, but don't use this as a free pass to prosecute something totally new.
That's the gist. And when the examiner does require that restriction, separating the old from the new, that leads to something called constructive election.
Constructive election. Okay, sounds important. What does that mean in practice?
It means essentially the moment that restriction is made, the original patent claims are automatically considered elected. They're the ones the examiner will keep looking at in this reissue application.
So the old claims stay put. They're chosen by default, constructively, and the new distinct claims.
They get effectively kicked out, considered withdrawn from this application.
Is there any way around that automatic election to keep the focus on the new claims instead?
There's one way, but it's drastic. The applicant has to file a disclaimer of all the original patent claims.
Whoa, disclaim everything that was already granted. That sounds dangerous. That leads us to the disclaimer trap, right?
Exactly. And trap is the right word because it's irreversible. Once you file that disclaimer of all original claims in the reissue, you cannot pull it back. It's gone.
Permanently given up the original patent scope.
Permanently. You have to be incredibly careful. You're trading something known, your granted patent, for the hope that your new restricted claims will make it through. It's a huge gamble.
Why would anyone take that risk? Throw away the whole patent just to chase the new claims.
Usually it's because they believe the original claims are, frankly, fatally flawed. Maybe invalidity issues came up, or they just don't cover the real invention properly. So the new distinct claims might be their only real shot. They're betting the farm on the new stuff.
Let's use that example from the material. Say you patented a specific mechanical device.
Okay, good example. So you file a reissue, maybe to fix some wording, but you also add new claims for an electronic method that controls that device.
And the examiner says, hold on, the device, invention A, and this new electronic method, invention B, are distinct inventions. Requires restriction.
Right. So what happens immediately?
Constructive election kicks in.
Yep. The original mechanical device claims A are constructively elected. They stay in this reissue application for examination.
And the new electronic method claims B?
They're considered withdrawn. If the applicant wants to pursue those method claims, they now have to file a separate divisional reissue application just for invention B.
Okay, so now you've potentially got two reissue applications running side by side, stemming from the same original patent. That sounds like it could get complicated administratively.
No, it definitely can. You've got reissue A with the original claims, and now maybe divisional reissue B with the new distinct ones. The Patent Office might even put reissue A on hold, suspend action until things are clearer with reissue B.
Makes sense, I guess, since B's outcome could affect A. But can you just keep these two reissues going separately forever?
No, not usually. The examiner can and likely will eventually require the applicant to consolidate. Basically force them to pick one application and abandon the other, merging the desired claims back together. The PTO doesn't want parallel prosecution tracks for related stuff indefinitely.
What if the applicant drags your feet or refuses to merge them? What happens to that first application, reissue A, the one with the original claims?
Well, if they don't merge, reissue B, the divisional with the new method claims, might proceed and potentially issue as its own patent. But reissue A, holding only those original constructively elected device claims, it could actually face rejection.
Rejected, but those are the claims that were already granted. Why would they get rejected now?
Because it might no longer be fulfilling the purpose of a reissue. Remember 35 U.S.C. 251. A reissue must correct an error in the original patent.
Ah, right.
If the only reason for the reissue was to add those new method claims, which are now in B, and the original device claims in A are actually fine, then application A isn't correcting any error anymore. Its whole statutory basis might have just walked out the door into application B.
Okay, I see. The whole framework, the restriction, the constructive election, the potential rejection if you split things off, it all forces the applicant back to that core purpose, correcting an error, not just expanding scope opportunistically.
Precisely. It imposes discipline. It keeps the focus squarely on 35 U.S.C. 251.
It's not just random hurdles. It's about protecting the specific, limited function of a reissue.
Exactly. But, it's not all about restriction hurdles. Section 1450 also has something about election of species, which acts more like a safety net. It's called species rejoinder.
Okay, species, like different specific variations of the main invention, right?
Yeah.
How does that fit into reissue correction?
Right. So imagine you have claims to different specific chemical formulas, let's say, which are all species under a broader chemical genus. During examination, some species claims might get restricted out, subject to an election.
Standard procedure.
But let's say you also have a broader generic claim still in the application one that covers all those species, including the ones that were non-elected or withdrawn.
Okay.
Now, if that broad generic claim is eventually found to be allowable by the examiner, then any non-elected species claims that depend on or fall under that allowable generic claim must be rejoined. The examiner has to pull them back into the application. You don't have to file a divisional just for those minor variations if the main concept covering them got allowed.
Ah, okay. So that prevents you from losing coverage on specific examples if you've already proven the bigger picture idea is patentable. It's a fairness and efficiency thing.
You got it. It makes sure you're not unfairly penalized for those detailed variations when they clearly fit under the umbrella of the allowed generic invention. It's a key exception to all the splitting and divisional complexity we talked about earlier.
So wrapping this up, what's the big lesson from MPP Section 1450 for our listeners?
I think the main thing is reissue is for correction. If you try to add distinctly new inventions, expect procedural hurdles like restriction and constructive election. And be extremely wary of that disclaimer option. It's final. It's all about managing that scope creep during correction.
And it all circles back to keeping the process focused on fixing errors under the statute, 35 U.S.C. 251, rather than letting it become a backdoor route for prosecuting brand new claims.
Exactly. And maybe one final thought for you to chew on. Next time you see a patent that spawned a divisional reissue, dig into the history. Was it genuinely just fixing complex errors across related ideas? Or was it because they tried to add something distinct and got caught by these restriction rules? That prosecution history tells a story.
That's a great practical tip. Really helps understand the why behind the paperwork.
Okay, before we sign off, one last time, a huge thanks to Mike Shepard for putting this series together. And please remember that disclaimer. This was AI-assisted. It's educational, definitely not legal advice.
For the real deal, you need the official MPP, a qualified instructor, or, an actual registered patent practitioner.
Absolutely.
All right, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.